Hey startuppers, my name is Lakeisha Williams and I support women seeking independence through entrepreneurship and homeschooling. One of the most common questions I get is, how do I calculate my monthly revenue goals? So I'll share with you my process and what has worked for me in being a full-time entrepreneur for the past 7 years. Now, I have two budgets. One is my personal budget and the other is my business budget. When you are creating your budget, this is not the time to be modest or play mind tricks with yourself. I want you to be completely and transparently honest about your expenses. Now, a part of my business budget is my salary, and that is determined by my personal budget. So I take my personal budget, total monthly expenses, and multiply that times 2. So, for example, if your personal monthly budget is $2,000, then you would multiply that by 2, which brings you to $4,000, right? Why do I multiply by 2? Because I like to have a cushion, and it gives me wiggle room, so if I don't hit my revenue goals, I can still ensure that my salary isn't impacted in a negative way. So instead of receiving a $4,000 salary that month, it may be $3,000, $3,500, but still above my minimum threshold, which in this case, I would say would be about $2,500, typically $500 over my monthly personal budget total. So I plug in that $4,000 number into my business budget under salary. Now, I look at my business budget, and based on that total amount, I multiply that by 1.5. Now, the reason I multiply by 1.5 for my business budget is 1, to give myself wiggle room, and 2, to account for any third-party payment transactional fees, bank fees, or any other miscellaneous expenses that may fluctuate or are one-time expenses. So, let's go to the example. Let's say that your monthly business budget is $5,000. And that may sound high, but don't forget we added our salary because typically during the startup phase, that is your highest expense. And again, please feel free to adjust these numbers based on your personal financial circumstances. Because in your business budget, you are accounting for subscription costs, overhead expenses, etc. So now I'm going to multiply my business budget of $5,000 by 1.5, which brings me to $7,500. And that is my revenue goal. Now, I use the profit first method when delegating my revenue as it's coming in, which is why I said your salary, depending on how you pay yourself weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, monthly, will fluctuate. If you click the link in my bio and download my book, How to Become a Mompreneur in 4 Weeks, on page 82, I actually go into more depth on how you can set this up. So now that I have my main revenue goal for the month, I then would break that down into micro goals, which can be weekly or daily. So for example, 7,500 divided by 4 weeks is 1875. And if I only look at bringing in sales over the course of 5 days a week, that's $375 per day. And then you can divide that by the cost of your product or service. So let's say your product is $20. You would divide $375 by 20, which is $1875. So that means you need at least 18 people to purchase your product or service for $20 to meet your daily revenue goal. This insight will also help you to make adjustments to your prices. Do you want to sell massively or a few at a time? So based on answering that question as well will help you determine your cost of service and product and your revenue goals. So I would love to hear from you on this. If this helped you, please comment me below and also share or tag this with 3 other women startups, and be sure to bookmark this video for future reference. Until next time, let's keep vibing and thriving.